This is the Gardens of Versailles, the largest garden in Europe and the largest royal domain in the world. The Grand Canal, built in the shape of a cross. Look at the symmetry, look at the splendor. This is the Palace of Versailles. Both the gardens and the palace are built along an east to west axis following the movement of the sun. This is the Hall of Mirrors. Imagine the rising sun streaming its golden light in through the windows, reflecting off the mirrors. Sunlight scattering off the glass chandeliers. A palace fit for a king, not just any king, the Sun King, King Louis, Louis the Great, Louis the 14th. Each morning, the sun and the Sun King would rise from the king's bedroom and fill the Hall of Mirrors with their presence. Louis the 14th reigned over France in the 17th century. During his 73-year rule, France became the most powerful country in Europe. He became the most powerful monarch. He had absolute power over both church and state. In fact, legend says Louis XIV claimed, and I quote, "I am the state," unquote. As the absolute monarch, he moved the capital of France 14 miles away, from Paris to Versailles. 20 years he built what started at his father's hunting lodge to the massive palace you see today. A palace filled with apartments so that the aristocrats could live there rent-free. Every day there was something going on to entertain the noble guests. Parties and evening balls, ballads and dancing, hunting and gambling. Everyone attended. You cannot think of 17th century France and not think of Versailles. It represented and became the symbol of the French monarchy. Just as you cannot think of Louis XIV and not think of the sun or the sun god Apollo, because Louis XIV made sure of that too. And he was not at all subtle about it. Why did Louis XIV declare himself the absolute ruler? Why did he proclaim to be the center of the universe? Why did he assert his divine right as coming from God? Why did he spend all that money and all that time building up Versailles? Why did he invite all those lords and ladies to live with him? Why did he spend all that money entertaining them? Maybe he got it from his parents? Maybe something drove him from his childhood? Maybe he just wanted to show off and get their likes and thumbs ups? What did you guess? If you guessed any or all of those three, you'd be right. His mother, Anne of Austria, claimed Louis XIV's birth as a miracle after suffering 4 stillbirths. She instilled the idea of absolute divine power in her sacred firstborn son. His father, Louis XIII, crowned him king at age 4, shortly before his passing. Then, as a young ruler, he grew up during the French Civil War, watched the aristocracy rebel against the crown, and twice fled Paris for his own safety. To never have history repeat itself in his lifetime, he needed to keep his friends close and his enemies closer. He seized absolute power of the church by elevating the Catholic faith in France while destroying the Protestant community. He seized absolute power of the state by establishing the remote and isolated Versailles as the power center of France, making it easier for discovering dissent and foiling conspiracies. Yet, idle hands are the devil's workshop, so to keep the nobles busy and distracted, Louis XIV bombarded them with culture and the arts. From his morning ritual to the many social etiquette and intricate rules, who had time for politics and the matters of the state? Louis XIV sculpted his Sun King persona using art. It's hard to not like a painting of an absolute monarch, right? In his pursuit of refining and proliferating this grand illusion, he supported the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in its pursuit of redefining the world of art and splitting from traditional art guilds. At the time, to become an artist, one needed to join such a guild and to apprentice for already established artists. The Royal Academy instead defined membership based on merit and a curriculum built on classical philosophy, and thus centralizing the power of art. Centralizing the power of art. The Royal Academy required students to master basic drawing tasks before advancing to figure drawings and paintings, while holding annual contests for exhibition rights in France. It also imposed a hierarchical value system on painting genres. Historical and biblical paintings, portrait art, landscape art, still life paintings, genre paintings. Along with much of Poussin's other classical theories became the rationales for the Royal Academy's rules and standards. So, who is this Nicolas Poussin? Nicolas Poussin was a great painter of the classical French Baroque style and had great influence over French art. A well-educated individual who chose to infuse his art with classical teachings. Teachings from the Renaissance and Rome. This Rome-based French artist who chose historical and religious subjects spent much time researching in depth and planning every aspect of every painting, focusing each element, bringing out the most psychological impact, greatest emotional impact, flashing events from different time periods into the same space, obsessing over every single detail. The Poussin creative process was slow and meticulous, but the results? Painting that told a very precise and articulate story. In a cardio ego, or even in Arcadia, I am there. A masterpiece of storytelling by Poussin. We see 4 figures gathered around the tomb with the inscription. The leftmost figure reminds us of a shepherd. He is leaning against the tomb, deep in thought. Next to him is another shepherd, dressed in blue, kneeling and touching the inscription. The third shepherd, in red, looks over his shoulder to the woman while gesturing towards the inscription. Face reads nervousness and anxiety. Body language says he is asking a question to the woman. Who is the woman? Is she the manifestation of reason? Is he asking himself that question? She contrasts with the shepherd, seems almost almost otherworldly. Is she a goddess? Athena, the goddess of wisdom? Or maybe she is more connected to the tomb itself and represents death. Let's step back and look at the painting itself. The four figures are lined up in classical poses. The clothing is rendered in the three primary colors of red, yellow, blue. Everything is placed with clarity and order and logic, all against a backdrop of a rustic landscape. And an inscription on the tomb, and thus its title. In Arcadia, I am there. Arcadia may translate to utopia, and I most translate that to death. So, even in utopia, death is there. Our storyteller reminds us to think of death at any time and anywhere, regardless of your conduct or behavior. Such a truth to life, is it not? Poussin's obsession for planning, for theory, for research was a perfect fit for the Royal Academy's scholastic and rational methods for educating the next generation of artists. The Royal Academy's desire to dictate the direction of art to come was exactly what Louis XIV wanted. In fact, one could say that Louis XIV used the French Baroque for absolute monarchy, like the Catholic Church used the Counter-Reformation Baroque for God and faith. The link between Louis XIV and French Baroque is so strong that when Louis XIV died, so did the French Baroque. And Versailles, as the press nobles fled back to Paris. And so closes the chapter of French Baroque. Yet opens a new chapter, Rococo. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.